Hey guys, it's Pat, and welcome to a bonus episode of the Awesome Sunday Show. It's going to be a solo episode. I'm going to be reviewing the Arkham Knight. Connor hasn't got it yet, so I'm going to be giving my review, and then maybe if he gets it and beats it at some time in the future, he'll do his own review. So there's going to be spoilers in this, so just be careful of that. And basically, I'm just going to break down the pros and cons that I felt of the game. Okay, so I got the PS4 version, so luckily I didn't have any major issues like the PC version did. But yeah, go PC Master Race, right? Alright, so I'm going to go with the pros first. The graphics were wonderful. They really embraced the current generation, and it really worked well with the characters and the Gotham's distressed environment. The one huge strength of the game was the voice actors, the cast, and their performances. They did a really wonderful job, especially Kevin Conroy as Batman, Jonathan Banks as Commissioner Gordon, John Nable as Scarecrow, Troy Baker as the Arkham Knight, and then, of course, this is a spoiler here for the main story, but Mark Hamill returning as the Joker did absolutely wonderful as always. Okay, so one of the major draws of this game is you're finally being able to use the Batmobile in this. And what's great about it is, first of all, it's awesome. It looks awesome. You get to use it in combat. Like, there's tank battles, and then you could use it against random thugs. And then you could even incorporate it into the takedown. So if you've ever played, you know that after a certain amount of combo hits, you can use a takedown, and you could actually bring different parts of the Batmobile into it, which is great. Another great thing was that there's a lot of side missions, and they range from just simple go here, beat this person up, to like sort of intricate. But it really provides a lot of content to add on to the main story, which is already decently long. So you really can't get bored, and you won't run out of stuff to do. One of my favorite things was the larger roles played by Batman's allies. Like in this, you experience more of Alfred, Oracle, Gordon, Nightwing, and Tim Drake Robin, which is great because they're great characters, and I felt like they were pretty underutilized in the last three games. Especially Nightwing and Robin, I'm really happy to have them in there. And at certain points in the games, you could actually you team up with Batman. You could use them. You can mix back and forth between using Batman and Nightwing and Robin in certain spots, which is a lot of fun. It's a nice change of pace to use them. Another thing, along with the plentiful side missions, is the large maps. The map is huge. It's probably, I don't know, it's bigger than Arkham City, and if you played Arkham City, it's a big ass map, and bigger than Arkham Origins, which is great. And the gliding system is great, and now that you have the Batmobile, you can cover a lot more ground in less time. Okay, and then next, they included more upgrades. There's a huge number of upgrades that you can have to improve Batman, his suit, his gadgets, and all that. And most of them are useful. Some of them are not, entirely necessary. The combat mechanics and controls were really smooth. They're very fine-tuned in this game. They're probably the best control system and like the best working controls out of the entire series, including Arkham Origins. So that was great to have, instead of just fumbling around and a lot of, just clunky fighting and stuff. You also get a few new gadgets. They're pretty cool. You do end up using them a lot, which is great, and they actually are very useful, especially in like certain situations you play throughout the game. Like there's a new voice copier and projector that you can use to trick some of the goons that work for the different villains, which was, I think, one of the better gadgets that got introduced. And another great thing was the inclusion of some major characters outside of the Batman family. And, they go from major parts to lesser known to smaller parts. And there's a lot of lesser known characters or rarely used villains that are also incorporated to the game, which is good because you want to mix it up, and instead of just having like the same 4 or 5 like main villains. Most of them you encounter in certain side missions, but still really good. Very good to say. Good to see. One huge thing that was beautifully done was the cinematic camera during the cutscenes. It was like movie level quality, to be honest. Like the way the camera worked and the directing of it, it was really good. Not that the camera work and like visuals during the gameplay was bad, but it was great during the cutscenes, which was good because it made the cutscenes more enjoyable and made them look a lot better. And I really liked most of the story, not all of it. I'll get to that in the cons of it, but it was a great story, and like it really benefited from the great voice performances of the actors. So, with a great story and great cast, like you got right there alone is awesome. You know, Another thing was the new bat suit, and you get some pre-order skins. The new bat suit is awesome looking, and some of the other skins you get with the pre-order, they're okay. I know certain versions. I think it was the PC version got the Batman Beyond bat suit, which looked incredible. Unfortunately, right now that's only on the PC. But I got with mine the 1960s Adam West Batman. I got the Batman Year One, the 1930s Batman, the animated series Batman, and then Justice League 3000 skin, which was really cool, and I used that the most. But the new Batsuit that they include through the game is pretty awesome too. And I really liked the Scarecrow development and look. A lot of people consider Scarecrow kind of a, like a lower tier villain. Like he's a great character, but he's not like a great villain. But I really liked him in this story. And I think it really benefited from John Nable's performance. He did an awesome job, and they really put him to good use. He's the major villain of the game. He's like basically how the Joker was the major villain and Hugo Strange were the major villains of Arkham City, and Joker was the major villain of Arkham Origins and Asylum. That's basically what Scarecrow is now. For this game, and he looks really great. Like, he looks pretty sinister. The design for him was awesome. Another great thing was the enhanced detective mode. Here and there, it got annoying to use in all the previous games, but here, with some of the new features and like the new upgrades to it, it worked really well. I mean, if you use it all the time, you kind of miss the scenery and the look of the city, but at least it's useful. And then my favorite part of the entire game was having Mark Hamill back as the Joker. In the game, he's not, well, he died at the end of Arkham City, and the first scene of the game is you cremating his body. So he wasn't a he wasn't a fightable villain. He's basically, after Batman gets poisoned with the Scarecrow venom, he's kind of like a ongoing hallucination of Batman's, and he provides a lot of great dialogue and just like a great comparison. I was really happy to have him back. Played a great role. Mark Hamill, of course, did absolutely amazing. His voice performance of the Joker is one of the best, my favorite performances of any Joker throughout, the entirety of Joker roles. And I really there was this one playable mission that kind of had like a Doom-style gameplay, and then you get, the playable mission I mean by that is you, through one hallucination, you play as the Joker for a couple minutes, and it's a cool like hallucination storyline, and it's got like a Doom style gameplay, and then he turns the Batmobile into a Joker mobile, and it looks awesome. And I wish you can use the skin during the game, but unfortunately you can't. but it was great. So like it had a lot going for it, and I really really enjoyed the game. But there's also like I don't know, a number of things that I didn't like. So I'm gonna get into the cons right now. First of all, Arkham Knight, he is, other than being the subtitle of the game, he is basically the second major villain. He's Scarecrow's basically second in command. And the character, the skin, like the costume and everything, the design was great, except one thing that really, really bothered me was, he was supposed to be an original character, and the only thing that was original about Arkham Knight was the persona. I felt that the true identity of the Arkham Knight was really obvious early on, and I was, really disappointed in it because Rocksteady promised an original character and it wasn't. So I was kind of disappointed in that, and it sucked that I couldn't tell who it was early on, and then later in the game it gets more and more obvious, especially towards the end of the story, or at the end of the Arkham Knight arc. So that was really disappointing, and the further you got into the story, the more whiny and cheesy his dialogue became. So it was really disappointing in that, and I felt the conclusion to the Arkham Knight storyline was really rushed and pretty disappointing, not going to lie. Another thing I really didn't like about the game was boss tank battles were way overused. It was, obviously it's awesome to use the Batmobile, but with the villains, I'd prefer to actually fight them instead of just having a tank battle with them. Like, that was pretty disappointing. Especially, it made beating the villains that we had to fight with the tank battle really unsatisfying. Specifically at the end of the game after you defeat the Arkham Knight, and then you complete like the Arkham Knight's army's side missions after Deathstroke takes over after the Arkham Knight. And at the end of those side missions, you beat all those. It's like you conquer watchtowers and break up like checkpoints and stuff. You are supposed to fight Deathstroke. Turns out to be a tank battle. And then once you destroy his tank, that's it. You don't get to fight him, and that's really disappointing because Deathstroke is a great character, and he's really awesome in Arkham Origins to fight with. But it was like extremely unsatisfying, and so was the battle with the Arkham Knight. It was really disappointing. Did they just make it into a tank battle, and the rushed conclusion of it. Let's see what else. For the Batmobile, the controls were a little wonky, especially at the beginning, which was really disappointing. It made it kind of difficult to drive around, and like there's a lot of missions where that are very Batmobile centric. So it led to like a lot of mistakes using it because of the controls, which is disappointing. And there was one thing, like I know I said there's plentiful side missions, and usually in the Arkham games, one of them is the Riddler leaving like a ton of riddles that you have to discover, and then you get bonuses for each one you get, like aside from just the Riddler trophies. I think there's too many riddles to find in the game. There's like a 250 or something like that. And, I get it. It's a lot more content. But what made it even more annoying is the scanning of the answers took forever and it was really poor in certain locations. So that was annoying. It just made me not want to keep doing them. Another really crappy thing was there were certain cop-out situations that they basically used after like major events happening. There was this, like, for those who have played the game, and this is a spoiler here, when Oracle, or what we believe to be Oracle, after she gets injected with a large dose of the fear toxin, ends up having like a psychotic break and then shoots herself in the head, killing herself. And I was like, it was a really good, like, what the fuck moment. But later on in the game, you find out that she's still alive, and that I felt was just such a cop-out, especially because of, what it added to the story and a lot of problems that resulted from it. So it was like a huge cop out, and it was really disappointing. And then towards the end, after you beat the Arkham Knight, and like the very last thing when you're fighting Scarecrow, not when you're fighting Scarecrow, but basically you're captured by Scarecrow, gets into it, and you have to, deal with him being captured. You see the Arkham Knight, who ends up being Jason Todd, for those who have watched or read Under the Red Hood. The movie's great, and I think watching it and knowing like the story was kind of a disadvantage going into the game, because that made it pretty obvious for me personally. I don't know how anyone else who had played the game felt. Like, I've seen a couple things online how people were disappointed in it. Basically, at the end, the conclusion with the Scarecrow, while you're captured and tied up from him, you like the Red Hood, Jason Todd, after he loses the Arkham Knight persona, becomes his Red Hood persona like he does in the comics, comes in out of nowhere, provides like a one shot at the Scarecrow for assistance to let you go. I felt that was just a cop out, and it was better that they never had it. It was honestly stupid, and it was a poor inclusion, and it just made it added to the disappointment of that character's story and conclusion. So that was really annoying. And one thing that really pissed me off was, hold on, let me get to two things. The season pass, which of like DLC and stuff, it's $40. That's crazy, stupid expensive, and you only get new content every 6 months. That's pretty ridiculous. Most season passes are like $20, $25, and you still get a lot of good stuff. But $40 for it is kind of crappy. And one of the things they really try to highlight as a benefit of the season pass is the DLC missions that will come with it. That each version of the game, like PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, and PC versions, all have different DLC that come with it as pre-order bonus. But the DLC that came with the PS4 version was the Harley Quinn DLC. It's like basically like a Harley Quinn small storyline. It was so short and really disappointing. It literally took me like 10 minutes to beat it. I was expecting, I wasn't expecting like another 20 hours of gameplay, but at least like a couple hours, like 5 hours worth maybe. No, it literally took like 10, 15 minutes, and was just really, really disappointed in it. And apparently the Red Hood DLC, I think it's for the I think it's PC DLC bonus, I've heard was just as long, and that's really, really annoying. You could at least make it like at least anywhere between an hour and 5 hours for it. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. So I think that them highlighting that as a major bonus of the season pass, unless they improve like the content of it and like how long the DLC is, it really makes the season pass not worth it. Just for 10-minute storylines and then a couple different skins, it really isn't worth it. So in conclusion, like overall, the game was fun, solid story, great directing, great performances, and one thing I didn't mention in the pros of the game is there's a couple different endings depending on like the percentage of the story you complete. And at different, and like this, what you complete at different times other than just a percentage can lead to different endings, but you can experience all the endings the more you complete the game. So, which I thought was really cool. And the biggest ending, which is codenamed Nightfall, was cool. It was really cool. It was a good idea. So I like that, and you can still play after that. I mean, I don't want to spoil that part because it's like a really big like oh shit moment. So I won't spoil that. I mean, like the game has its flaws, but I think the positives more than make up for it. And if you guys agree or disagree, just let me know. Or if you agree or disagree with any of the pros or cons of the game, which you didn't like, did like, whatever, you can comment or let me know or whatever, and we could talk about it. Overall, I'd give the game a 9 out of 10. It's a very satisfying ending to the Arkham series. I don't think it was Rocksteady's strongest of the three, but it was still a great game, still a lot of fun, and a pretty solid conclusion. So I definitely recommend buying it. Probably not the PC version, because apparently there's a lot of problems with it, particularly at launch that were like just ridiculous. So get the PS4 or Xbox One version, and yeah, let's talk about it if you guys want. Thanks for listening and enjoy this bonus episode. Sorry if you didn't enjoy it without Connor, but is what it is. Bye, guys.